Hello everyone, welcome and thank you very much for joining me this evening. My name's Steve Carroll and I'm delighted that you've chosen to listen to me talk about creating a fit-for-purpose PMO and how every organisation can achieve and benefit from setting up a PMO regardless of size. I'm going to take approximately 20 minutes to introduce you to some key principles and the simple steps needed to get your project capability up and running and adding value to your organisation. I've broken this talk into three sections. Firstly, I want to just step back a stage and consider why you might want or need a project management office, what barriers you might be encountering, and what benefits you should be aiming for. And then the heart of this talk is to explore how to approach building an effective PMO in a step-by-step and efficient way. And then finally, I want to add the all-important fit-for-purpose emphasis. And that comes from discussing how to ensure you are only implementing what you need, nothing more, nothing less, especially for organizations who might be quite small or who have previously felt that a PMO is only for big companies. I'll quickly introduce myself. I'm Steve Carroll. I'm the founder of October Project Services, and I like to help organizations adopt healthy, fit-for-purpose project capability through the development of their people, behaviors, process and culture. I studied IT initially, and my formal project management training very much started by delivering IT projects, punctuated by various certificated PM training courses such as Prince 2 and BCS. I then, though, spent over 20 years delivering projects, setting up project departments, project processes and standards, and developing project management talent. And for a large chunk of my career, I did this by delivering change in the fast-moving world of food supply chains. As such, I've been really fortunate to work with a variety of companies in the UK and beyond. Companies big and small, those really good at project management and those not so good at project management. And all have added to my knowledge and experience of projects, and all have fueled my passion for helping modern organizations maximize their project capability, whatever their shape, size, and industry. My approach is centered on the idea of fit for purpose, avoiding the pitfall of seeing formal project methods as a prescriptive or one-size-fits-all approach. So I specialize in simplifying these processes and tailoring them to an organization's needs so they have something that simply works. So that's enough about me. Let's get started by taking a look at why we might need or want a project management office. First of all, what are some of the typical pain points that lead organizations to look into or aspire to having a project management office? Lack of visibility is often high up on leadership teams' lists of complaints. They might have no idea who's doing what, when they're doing it, and how much it's costing them. Too much documentation is also a familiar war cry, and this is quite often as the result of inconsistent project practices. Lots of people delivering lots of projects using different tools, different techniques, and different documentation. And this all leads to a general inability to make decisions confidently, easy, or effectively, essentially running blind. You might have a change environment where you find out too late about problems or opportunities to do anything effectively about them. And finally, and importantly, project management might not be high up in your area of expertise as an organization, so it can be really difficult to know where to start. So that's the pain points. Let's look at some of the barriers you might be encountering. What kind of misconceptions and doubts might you or others in your organization have? First up, project stifling creativity. And this is a really common accusation. I hear it an awful lot in my line of work. And my response is always, yes, it can, if you're doing it wrong. You see, too much control will result in not enough creativity. Just in the same way, too much creativity could result in not enough delivery. So as with life, the answer is in the balance. In this case, it's finding the right balance for each project or each phase within a project. Second misconception is the amount of bureaucracy that a formal project method might give you. Documentation is necessary and it is not evil, but usually this feeling comes from ineffective, inaccessible documentation formats. Applying some consistency and a just enough to be effective mindset usually helps fix this. Next, complaints about it being too expensive, or certainly a lot more expensive than just getting on with it. All this control, training, and the new skills does come at a cost. Again, it comes down to balance. You don't want to apply all of your project controls to every single project just because you've spent time developing them. And then finally, everyone being too busy to spend time introducing more efficient working practices such as a PMO. This is my paradox. We need to break this cycle, don't we? So what about some of the benefits of a PMO? Some of the key aiming points that you should rightly have are visibility, understanding what's happening, who's doing what, what's planned to happen, what's awaiting for approval, and so on. Consistency. We'll have lots of projects underway at the same time, but you want to ensure everyone is talking the same language and applying broadly the same approach. Control. We want to be able to govern our change agendas, shaping them to our strategic wants and needs. And we want each and every project to be well run and successful. And finally, support. We want to offer our project teams guidance and the ability to evolve and develop their skills. So how would you experience these benefits? Well, visibility will give you the ability to make quick and effective decisions, essential for any business. Consistency will give you the efficiency that you need, and that efficiency will give you even more capacity for change. Control provides assurance, and support encourages growth. So that's why we might want or need a project management office. The barriers you might be experiencing and the benefits we want to be able to unlock by implementing or improving our PMO. And I do hope that some of those resonated with you here today. But let's get into it. What are my 7 steps to building an effective fit-for-purpose project management office? So those of you that have attended any of my project management training courses will know that I'm a really big fan of breaking big problems down into manageable chunks. So you will find this approach very familiar. But first and foremost, I want to get a couple of really basic things out of the way. Building a project management office is in itself a significant business change that you want to deliver. So you need to treat it like a project. First of all, your PMO needs a champion, a sponsor, a figurehead, that person that is going to help you buy everyone at all levels into the concepts and help you get the PMO the support and buy-in that it requires. Having somebody in this role who is in or has clout with the leadership teams so that the buy-in and drive is from the top is really, really effective way of starting. Second really important key step, you need to agree with your champion. Why are we doing this? What is our rationale? Are we addressing needs and wants, or are we building from scratch? Are we improving what we've got? And like the business case for any well-defined change, you need to consider and write down things like the target. What will improve, or what problems are we trying to reduce? What's our vision? What will success look like? And in doing these things, you might want to be a little bit more scientific. So you could look at things like maturity levels, and project management specific maturity models exist and will be really familiar to those that have used other business maturity models. But essentially, it's worth documenting briefly, where are we now and what are we aiming for? So we've defined our why, our problem statement. We've got visions and targets. Now we need to decide, what will the PMO actually do? And this is really important. This is what we call the scope of the project management office. You see, the definition of what a project management office does is really broad. It can even be overwhelming. The truth is, project management offices are there to support project teams so that they can provide lots of different services, They don't have to do everything. So consider what's right for you in line with your needs, your budget, your appetite for change, and your now well-documented targets and visions. The myriad services and functions a PMO could deliver will be listed if you do a Google search or look it up in Wikipedia or so on. But they can be summarized broadly into the following sections. Performance, things like project investment decision support through really good visibility and control. People, management of your most important resource. Who's going to do what, when, what are they already doing, and what's the demand for those different skills over time? Process support and consistency in using those processes, ensuring every project is as efficient, effective, and can deliver value and is aligned to the organization's strategies. And finally, tools, the systems, the techniques, the training that's needed, supporting project teams by providing easy access to a tool set that is in itself fit for purpose. So similarly, we can consider also where will the PMO apply its influence, where will it add its value, where will it exert its control? And this is the PMO's coverage. It's a great way of starting small and testing and refining your approach as you grow. Now, the way the coverage can be split up, for some organizations, they'll have program or project-specific project management offices. They do exist. It's quite often used where the needs of different programs are really quite different. It's quite often used in service industries where the toolkit or the tool set that a particular program needs to use must be closely aligned to the client's toolkit. But it isn't for everyone. Another way of constraining the coverage, and a much more popular way of constraining the coverage of a PMO, is to implement the project management office across a single department. Now, IT is usually a good place to start. IT in itself is a relatively new business department, and it's evolved, therefore, alongside formal project management techniques as they've evolved. So that's a good match. But also culturally, those people who work in IT have always known it to be a very process-oriented and well-governed discipline. So it could be a good place to start, but equally, you need to explore other areas where you could start at a departmental level. And then still, rather than covering the whole organization, it might suit your the way your organization's set up to choose a regional approach. Could we make the PMO or start the PMO in a particular region? So there are options here, and it's a really good way, like I said, of testing the water, testing out some approaches. Okay, step 5 is who. Who does the PMO need? So I've already discussed the champion, and obviously there's going to be project teams, and setting up the correct project team culture is a whole topic in its own right. But in terms of a healthy PMO, you're going to want some key people. First of all, you're going to want those with the skill and experience to coach others. Chances are, if you're listening to a talk like this, that you might not have those currently in-house. But don't let that stop you. Partner with somebody outside of your organization, somebody like a consultant, a third party, or somebody from the broader organization if you're part of a group. If you do use somebody outside your organization, it makes sense to identify who you want your future experts to be. You can then partner the coach with them so that they can be mentored and grow into that role. Secondly, a well-running project management office relies upon information. The bigger the scope and coverage, the more information you want to be captured efficiently and accurately, so that it can be used to support the all-important decision-making. So like it or not, this is going to require some administration. So you need to identify who's going to be able to do the administration of that information. Next is governance. It is important to have some governance in place. And ideally, we want to develop a culture of compliance to the processes based upon the value that they're adding to all parties. But compliance and consistency does require a certain amount of monitoring and encouragement, especially in the early stages. And finally, evolution. Somebody needs to be monitoring, reviewing, measuring impact, and helping the PMO to evolve in the best direction for your organization. Now, that could be your champion, or better still, we could lead a cross-section of people drawn from those that manage projects, those that provide work or expertise to projects, those that steer projects, or those that manage the resource pools upon which the projects depend. The mistakes lots of organizations make, and the reason why starting a PMO can be a real challenge, is that something was implemented in the past. It was never going to be right first time, but instead of reviewing, evolving, and pivoting the direction of the PMO, it was left to stagnate. Not only did it fail, but it has tainted the organization's view of what a PMO is. Okay, so step 6 is an important one. How are we going to do all this? Okay, so, well, to start, a fit-for-purpose PMO needs a fit-for-purpose yet effective project management process. The tools, techniques, and terminology that each project team will be using needs to be reviewed to ensure that it's effective and consistent, but can also start to feed the needs of the project management office, such as centralized project information. And then next, the project management office itself requires, to start with, nothing more than a simple database of the projects and their key information, starting that journey of providing the visibility that centralized project information provides and enabling the much improved decision support. And finally, training. These new or revised tools, processes, terminology, and how to work with the PMO needs to be easy to understand, but will need to be backed up by training and guides and online resources, those types of things. So by now, you'll also be building up a view of your budget. How much you're able or willing to spend on the project capability will steer your choice on all these steps. But as with all projects, you'll also be discovering a benefits case alongside the cost estimates as you progress along these 7 steps. So talking of the 7 steps, what is the final step? It's really, really important that your organization aligns. Everyone needs to understand why you are doing this, and everyone needs to understand what you are doing. Everyone also needs to have at least an awareness of the where, the who, and the how. You see, many organizations fail to implement their beautifully designed project management and their beautifully designed project management office processes and tools, because who do they align with? They align with the project managers. Now, the project managers are key to this, absolutely, of course they are, but they are likely to be the easiest people to align with. They are, after all, the ones with the skills, the experience, and the intent to do projects well. But they are part of a team of people who are not necessarily project savvy, and they're outnumbered. The project manager is one person in each project team. There are several stakeholders sponsoring and supporting each project. There are many people providing work or functional support and expertise to each project, and they might be based within the organization or outside of the organization. The truth is, the vast majority of your organization will be involved in some way in your projects, but all of your management team will be involved in your projects. So they need to be aligned, all of them. They need to be bought in, listened to, made aware of the way projects will be planned, prioritized, monitored, delivered, and reviewed, so that they can play their part much better, whatever that part is. So they're the 7 steps to building an effective fit-for-purpose project management office. But in this talk, I did emphasize that this is possible for organizations of any size. So what if your needs, your resources, or your organization as a whole is quite small? These steps still apply, but the opportunity for small companies in particular is the ability to start small, really small. And these concepts really easily scale. And my top tip, if you do want to start really small and scale, is to look at what you want the PMO to do, the scope, and where you want the PMO to apply, the coverage. Look at those 2 areas in particular. These are your opportunity to start really small, which, whatever your size, is also a great way of gaining confidence and competence in the approach you've taken. You see, fit for purpose is more than just tailoring something to your needs and wants. It means achievable, enough for now. And as you grow and your demands on the PMO grows, these can be scaled as well. I hope that was useful, but I've got a few words of advice, and in particular, some things I want you to consider as you embark upon your journey. First of all, I've called them 7 steps, but it's not like a staircase. Like any well-run project, you need to consider it a journey. After you've identified your champion and written your vision statement, you will learn and discover as you explore each of the subsequent questions. That's the power of the W's and the H approach. This means you want to circle around and refine your approach as you learn. You want to make sure you give yourself time to reflect and pivot as you go through that learning journey as well. Secondly, it's really important that you learn from others. If you lack experience in-house, then use other people's experiences, their knowledge, and their expertise. Ask for help and learn from their mistakes and learn from their successes. And then finally, nowadays, there are myriad affordable, flexible, and really, really good PPM tools. PPM tools are project and portfolio management tools. Essentially, they're the tools that are designed to support a project office and the project teams that feed it. It's really well worth taking a look at a few demos, online demonstrations or tours, even just screenshots of what the different PPM tools on the market can do, because that will help you discover what's possible either now or in the future, and really help you set achievable objectives and goals. Okay, I'm going to just give us a brief summary and then we'll be closing. So designing and building a project management office is a project, so treat it like one. And every project is a journey. Ensure you have a champion, a sponsor. Break the big problem down like you would with any good project into the what, the why, the when, the where, and the how, etc. If you have limited or no in-house experience, then get help or learn from others who have, and align the whole organization to what you're doing because it affects the whole organization. And finally, you can start small. Regardless of your organizational size, you can start small. You see, a project management office could be a role for one person who spends just some of their time curating a simple project toolkit, checking that it's being used consistently, coaching others on how to use it well, and keeping a central log of all project information. It could equally be a dedicated team of people underpinned by tools and technology that support both project teams and those making the all-important investment decisions. They could be managing resource utilizations and constantly improving project process and effectiveness. It can be either of those two things, or it can be everything in between, and it can be a journey from one to the other. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope that you found this interesting and helpful. I would love to hear your progress on this topic, so please contact me. The QR code will take you to my business card, or even better, schedule some time via my Calendly link on my LinkedIn profile. Thank you.